Let's look at percent word problems. To find that, you'd go to Foundational Topics, and over here on the left, I've already highlighted it, percent word problems. Double click on that, and here we are. Now, this program was written, as you can see, in 1997, quite a long time ago. A middle school teacher saw me speak at a teachers meeting, and she thought that there was nothing out there that had challenging enough problems for percent. So she and I met one summer and hammered out the kinds of problems that we saw in a variety of textbooks. We looked at maybe 6 textbooks and looked for the kinds of problems that we saw in all of the books and picked the most challenging. And I was trying to make it a little bit mixed up, so I came up with this idea, and you really need to understand it. It says, see, there's this little guy here. I'd actually seen a Microsoft game and wanted to see if I could make somebody do this with the mouse over move, and so I did that as an exercise in programming. But see right here, it says, warning, these problems require thinking. Some increase or decrease has been added or subtracted from the original. Read carefully. And then over here is another warning. It said, there are some computer children, like this girl here, who will be jealous if you get a problem correct. So this is going to be kind of a reverse thing. Every time you get a problem right, one of these little children is going to come up and say, stop doing that. I guess they think they're going to make them look bad, because these problems are kind of difficult. After I had done this page, it was very clear when we started to use the program that the problems were indeed very hard, and some kids couldn't even do the most straightforward kind of percent problems. So down here is a taskbar that if you're just introducing the topic, you might want to change to this simpler page, which is very straightforward and always says something is 1%, and there's this text box, and there's one in here, and there's one here. One of these 3 places will be missing, and then you just have to calculate the missing part of this sentence, and if you can figure out what's going on. When I first went back to teaching in 1985 after a break for motherhood, I started teaching problems like this, and I explained percent in a common sense point of view, and the kids said to me, you're making it much too hard. And they gave me this little thing, and they were very good at this type of problem, and so I sort of went with their explanation of how they were taught. They told me is over of, which I guess is some, equals percent over 100, which is some sort of algorithm that one of their middle schools teachers taught them, and they were always good. That whole group of kids that came for several years in a row was always good at these straightforward percent problems. So instead of trying to make them learn some other way, I just went with their plan, is over of. So what I taught kids to do was to rearrange the sentence into something is some percent of 200. And then they would say, to set this problem up, you go is 128 over of, I'm not using the pen again, aren't I, is equal to percent. That's our x. That's the thing we're trying to find out. That was bad grammar, I'm sorry. X over 100, and then you can cross multiply and get 12800 equals 200x. We could divide by that 100, and we'd get x is equal to 64. So 64 would be our answer. Let's minimize the marker and see if we can put in 64. You can slide this if it's too slow for you to check. We win. And then do a new problem. We'll just do one more. Oh, it's the same type. Bring the marker up. Sorry about that. So we'd go is over of 9 over 150 equals x over 100. I'm going to multiply both sides by that. We'll get 15. X is equal to 90, which looks like X is equal to 6. Yeah, 6. So I'll minimize the marker, and we'll say, check, we win. I didn't mean to open it. Now I'll just do one more of these so you can see this is a different type. See if we can't. Oh, I lost the marker. That's what it was complaining about. So you would set this up as 117 over X is equal to 195 over 100. That's how you'd set up your proportion cross multiply. Thanks. Try this problem. Carol's new paycheck is 85% of her original paycheck. Her original paycheck was $220. What is her new paycheck? Now, if we could get this set up, that's something. Let's see if I can get that marker to come up. Yeah. Something is some percent of something else. If we could get these 3 boxes fixed up, we could do this problem as easily as we did the easier type problems where they already give it to you in this form. Now it says Carol's new paycheck. This is what is her new paycheck is what we're trying to find out. So we're going to put an X there. Carol's new paycheck is 85% of her original paycheck. And her original paycheck was $220. What is her new paycheck? So if we set this up, is over of equals 85 over 100. We could multiply both sides of this proportion by 10 and kill off these zeros right here. That would make things a little simpler. Then it turns out that 10x, if we use the product of the means, is equal to the product of the extremes, is 85 times 22. 85 times 22. So 2 5s is 10, 170. And the same thing, 170. So it's 1870. 10x is 1870. Divide both sides by 10, and we get $187. Looks like I did that as one off with my guess. Oh, I'm in the marker now. I'm going to minimize that. Let's see if we can get that. 187. Check my answer. Now, see, here's what I was saying. What are you doing? Stop it. Stop it, because we were correct. This little guy's going to be saying something rude instead of encouraging. But when you get a rude statement from me, they are jealous because you got it right. We probably should include a newer type of problem. Let's see the different kinds of problems we can get. New paycheck is that's like the one we just did. Mike's company stock increased by 160% last year. Its original price was $70. What is the current value of the stock? So increased by. So we've got to find the increase, and then we will have to add it on to the 70. That will make this one a little bit harder. Let me see if I can't do that one. Let's bring up the marker. There we go. Mike's company stock increased by 160%. So we've got to figure out, try to get this. I'm not using the pen again. Something is what percent of something. Now you got to be careful about what you find once you get stuff into this form. Mike's company stock increased by 160%. So it's 160% of the original price. So this is, when we put an X in here, we're going to find the increase by 160%. So we're going to have to be careful when we get that. When we get done, we're going to have to add that increase on to the 70. So let's set it up. X over 70 equals 160 over 100. And we can multiply both sides by 10, and we get 10x is equal to 7 sixes is 42, 7, 1120. It looks like it's 112. Now, some kids are going to try and give me 112 as the answer, but that is how much it increased. So if it was $70 to begin with, it's now going to be worth 182. See why these are challenging? So I'm going to try to minimize this, and we'll try to put in the 182, see how that works. Let's see if we can. And we check the answer, and it says, "What are you doing? Stop it." We're correct. So, do new problem. That's another this decreased by, so we'd have to subtract whatever we find from the 70 this time. Marcia's teacher plans to give 600-point tests. She has 480 points on the first 5 tests. What's the lowest score she can make and still maintain a grade of 95? Now here you have to, it's not going to be an is over of problem. So let's see if we can't get the marker up for this and get what we're expecting here. I'm sorry about the number. I've made some mistakes and I'm going to edit them out. But Marcia's teacher plans to give 6 tests. Ignore this. We're going to try again. Marcia's teacher plans to give 6 tests. Maybe I should just grab this and try to do it by itself. She's going to give 6 tests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the first 5, she's got 480 points. And then she's going to get who knows what score on this. What's the lowest score she can get and still maintain a grade of 95? So she wants to be a 95 over 100. So this is going to be out of, not 500, but out of, if we add this x on, plus this is going to be out of 600. So it's going to be 480 plus x over 600 is equal to 95 over 100. I'm going to multiply both sides by 100. I'm getting 480 plus x is equal to 6 times 5 is 30, carry 3, 6 9's 54, 500, now subtract 480. And it looks like she has to get a 90. Check my answer. You got it. Oh no. New problem. This is another paycheck one. Another stock decrease. Let's see if we can't include the really bad ones. That's the same kind we already had. We had that kind. Oops. I saw one of the ones there. Okay. Let's see if we can't bring up the marker and hopefully successfully. Bobby bought jeans that were marked down from the original price. The original price was $50. The new price is $45. Find the percent of the decrease. So we have to find the percent of the decrease. So what we have to do is, before we even begin, we have to find out what the decrease was. Well, if the original price was $5 and the new price is $45, the decrease was that $5. So what we're really saying is something is what percent of what. And we want to find the percent of the decrease. So we're going to try to find the percent of the decrease. 5 is what percent of. And here's what you got to be real careful. It's got to be of the original price of 50. So 5 over 50 is x over 100. We could do this. 5 over 5, it looks like, must have been 10% decrease. We could cross multiply and get 10%. Be 5x is equal to 50 and x is equal to 10. 10% discount. Hopefully I've worked the kinds that you're going to have to see. There's not enough room really to work. I suggest maybe you probably need paper. The marker just doesn't give you enough to work with, as I proved. Okay, so what we need to do is come now and check. See if this is 10%. Check my answers. You are correct. Whee! The kid says whee! So hopefully, throughout all my mistakes, you get the idea of this. These are ones that you have to stop and think about, and you really have to keep your work neat. I'm sure that the times that I've gotten a mistake, I couldn't read my own handwriting. So be very careful with these when you go to set them up. They are kind of tough. Take care. If you get good at these, you are the master of percent, because we couldn't find any harder ones in the pre-algebra books. Take care. Bye.